Hello and welcome to episode 8 of our AGS Success video blog, bringing the science of learning to you at home. This week we're going to be talking about study spaces.
Yeah, now obviously since we've started doing these videos we've had quite a lot of people getting in touch with us and asking questions and things like that. And one thing that's coming up a few times is people are saying, when I'm studying at home, if I'm trying to build that study habit, is there anywhere in particular around my house that I should be doing my revision? So have you got any kind of suggestions on best locations?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just anywhere in the house as long as it's a designated study space. What we mean by that is that a lot of students talk about maybe studying on their bed, but actually it's a really bad place because it has too many connotations with relaxing. So it's about preparing a space that in your bedroom at a desk or downstairs at the dining table or somewhere that actually you're going to be able to focus, that it's quiet and is a real designated space where you're going to actually focus your mind so that when you get there it's almost a trigger for hard work and focus rather than on a bed, which is more of a trigger for relaxation and downtime. The other thing I'd say is making sure that it's well lit, and that's something that people sometimes struggle with if it's a bedroom or if it's a corner of a room. And I think the obvious point of that is that if it's well lit, then we're not straining our eyes, and also natural daylight is far better than than room lights. So what we would also try and say is if it can be near a window, but also the specific detail of having a window behind you so that you're not then looking out of a window because you're not looking into the bright light, but also then the distractions of what happens outside in the street or in the garden. So if the light's behind you and it's shining upon you, then it's automatically lighting your workspace, and that natural daylight is far better than any room lights.
Right, so we're saying kind of psychologically, rather than just, well, I could revise here, I could revise there, I could do my work here, I could do my work there, just having a place. I suppose like a lot of professionals have a study where they go to work, actually gets them in the right frame of mind to be focused and concentrate and get that done.
Exactly that, absolutely, and I think that's why so many people like to work, let's say from an office, because actually it gets you into that workspace and that mind rather than working from home that can sometimes be a bit more comfortable. So yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay. So once we've established where in the house is going to be our designated study space, how are we going to go about designing that space so it's the most purposeful it can be?
What we would always say to start with as a bare minimum would be a flat surface. So a desk really would be ideal for that. But also on that desk is minimising any distractions. So for me, I like to make sure that it's as clean and as tidy and as empty as possible, really, to make sure that it doesn't feel cluttered. Because I think whenever we've got clutter, we've got lots of things, it also potentially clutters our mind as well. So we like to make sure that it's a nice, it's a quiet space, but also that surface is free of any distractions, and also removing other distractions. So if we're going to be working for 20-25 minutes, then actually take your phone away. Don't have it, even if it's on silent. If it's there next to you, there's a temptation to look at it or it buzzes. Just get rid of it. Put it in a different room. Put it on your bed. Put it somewhere that you're not going to be distracted by the beeps and the notifications coming through.
And it's only 25 minutes.
Absolutely, and that's what we always say. 25 minutes of focus time. Remove the distractions. Have a nice, clean workspace, free of distractions, and then you're able to be in the best mindset to work really, really hard for those 25 minutes.
So we've got our location. We've designed our study space. What do we need to do in terms of kind of organising ourselves to make sure that we've got everything that we need there?
Being prepared, and I think taking the time before you start the session itself, making sure you've got everything you need is time really, really well spent. So it might be that you spend 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes making sure you've got enough pens, pencils, rulers, your calculator if it's something you need a calculator for, you've got your books, and even to the level that, if I'm going to need a drink or I think I might need a drink, get the drink before and have it ready so that you're not then 5 minutes in thinking, oh, I'm thirsty when I'm going to get a drink. You go downstairs, you break your train of thought. Make sure everything's there, everything's prepared, so that when you start those 25 minutes, actually everything is within reach. You're not having to get up and move around and get things, because any of those things are just distractions, physical or mental. So everything is within reach. Equipment, work, books, plain paper, sketch paper, whatever you need to do that. Just have it ready. Simple as that.
Right, I think we obviously always have a tip each week for parents and for students. I think that leads really well into the tip that I would have for parents. One of the hardest ways to get a habit established is just actually making that start, and what you often need to start a habit is have a cue that kind of gets you going and gets you going with it. And I'm just thinking about something like that. As a teenager myself, and perhaps not a very well organised one, I certainly, if I already had to motivate myself to do some revision, if I then first of all need to motivate myself to go around and plan everything and organise it, that actually might be another barrier to me getting started.
Yeah.
So one of my tips that I would give for parents is, that's the way that you can support. You might not feel like you can support in terms of the subject content, but you could support by being that cue, by actually kind of maybe clearing the dining table and getting the laptop out and getting a drink and then saying, right, it's 6 o'clock, time to work, there's your station, off you go, and actually helping that to become established. If the parent is the cue and they do that kind of organising, similarly as well, if you can help in any way with kind of getting equipment organised and things like that, it's just one less thing for the student to think about, which gives them a little bit more kind of mental capacity and a little bit more motivation to actually get the work started. So that would certainly be a tip from me.
That's perfect. And actually, I'm a parent of a 14-year-old in year 10, and I'd be able to do that. You know, I can do that. I can organise him, and actually, he needs organising. So for me to direct him and say, right, I've cleared this. It's time now. This is what it is. I'm going to time you. It's very easy to do, and it would really work. What about students then? I've given a lot of tips there, but you know, what can they really do to really make sure this works?
I've just got one really kind of almost like a life hack for students, and it's something that came out of a study by the University of Hawaii a few years ago, and it was done with college students, but they basically split this group of college students in half, and they said, tonight when you go back to your dormitory, all we want you to do, this is what they said to half of them, we want you to turn your desk so it faces east in your bedroom, and we want you to place a piece of paper on the wall and write study space on it. And the other group, they didn't tell them to do that, they just left them as they were. And the group that created that study space, and we talked earlier about having a designated study space, just something as simple as having a piece of paper that said study space, helped those students to focus much better, and on average they actually achieved more than a grade better than the other group of students. So even just doing something that simple. So I guess my tip for students would be, just get an A4 paper, write study space on it, and just display it somewhere in that area that you've decided. Now, we've had a tip for parents and a tip for students there, but I think it's really important that we kind of cover one final point. What if in your home environment there isn't a space that you can designate to study? What if we talk about distractions? What about if you've got some young siblings around that, for all the best will in the world, they're still going to run into your bedroom and distract you? What if actually we talked about parents assisting and organising stuff? What if parents are working late and actually they're not physically there when the students? Have you got any suggestions how our students could deal with that?
Well, certainly from a school point of view, we've got lots of spaces in school that students can use, and certainly right now for year 11s, we have study spaces in our revision room after school. And they can come and they can spend an hour, 2 hours in there, you know, in exactly that space you talked about, in our dining hall, free of distractions. It's a total silent room, with laptops, with iPads, with everything they need. Toilets are right on hand, you know, everything's there. And for younger students as well, you know, homework clubs, and we've got the LRC, and there's lots of different places in school. So as a parent or a student, if you are thinking, well, I haven't got any of those spaces at home, please contact us, please speak to us, because there's always places in school and there's always staff on hand that we can help with that in school to make sure that that the students do feel that they have some space or a quiet space to be able to do that individual study, which we know is so important.
Yeah, and I think on that as well, I've certainly been in contact with a lot of local libraries, and there are spaces available as well. So if potentially you live that little bit further away from school, you want to go home first, but there's a library just around the corner, just go in and ask, because they've probably got a space that you could use as well.
Fantastic. Right. Well, I hope that's been really useful for you at home to make sure you can have that really sound study space at home. If you want to speak to us about that, please contact us, and we're more than happy to help in school if you haven't got something. Remember, all of our previous videos are on our YouTube channel and all of our social media networks. And we'd also like to know if you are using any of these techniques at home and you are finding them useful, please let us know, drop us a comment in, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.